Well, good afternoon. It is good to be here, and I know that I did miss my connection this morning, so I do thank Malcolm very much for announcing our intentions with social procurement this morning as well. So, hey, it's lovely to be here, and in the few hours meeting all the people, the energy around this place has been incredible. So, a big congratulations to everyone involved. Well, kia ora, and welcome to this plenary. I'm very pleased to be here today. I'll put these glasses on because I'm getting old and can't see so well. And be given the opportunity to be part of and facilitate what will be a very engaging and informative discussion on social enterprise procurement. We've got a highly respected international panel lined up to share with us their perspectives on growing social procurement as well as being a social procurement marketplace. But first I want to give you an insight into what New Zealand Post, why social procurement is important to us, and why increasingly view as just good business seems to be involved in it. At New Zealand Post, we have a long, proud history of serving communities, and in more recent years, an emphasis on helping Kiwis to help themselves through community investment activities. For over 170 years now, we've played an important role in connecting people with each other, be they communities or businesses. And we recognise that as we offer services so woven into people's lives, we have an important and trusted responsibility to lead and contribute back in equal measure. We deliver what people care about most, and in turn, we place a real emphasis on investing in what communities care most about through engagement activities. We've always been part of what makes communities connected and resilient, so supporting and encouraging people to solve problems that matter to them is a 100% natural fit for New Zealand Post. And we're stepping up this support. That's why earlier today, Malcolm had the privilege to announce a new and important commitment to social procurement for New Zealand Post. Over the next 12 months, we're committed to purchasing goods and services from at least 3 social enterprises. Yay. So this is an important announcement, and I'm really proud to be making in my first 6 months as CEO of New Zealand Post. Not only is it a significant step for New Zealand Post, but we hope it will act as a catalyst for other businesses to follow suit to make their own commitments on social procurement. We may be starting with 3, but we're pretty ambitious what this might lead to, especially given our size and the amount of money we spend on procurement. We procure tens of millions of dollars every year. We're just one organisation in New Zealand, so imagine if each business committed to spending a portion of their own spend with social enterprise and what a difference we could make together. It's about growing the at least 3 to a bigger commitment every year to help create procurement demand from this emerging sector. Prioritising this amount of our procurement spend on social enterprise in this way will mean working with our supply chain in a proactive and business-focused way. This is about giving real and meaningful commercial opportunities that help create social change. It's a purposeful shift to establish procurement partnerships. Is the next logical step in our commitment to community investment. This will also benefit New Zealand Post in a number of important ways. This includes bringing enhanced delivery and inclusion into our organisation as being influenced by the sector's agility and innovation. Not to mention the skills and experience social enterprises have countering the effects of social disruption as they work towards a more sustainable and inclusive world. At New Zealand Post, we're also coming to terms with and adapting to our own significant disruptions being brought about by our customers sending substantially fewer letters and sending significantly more parcels. We see an important opportunity to learn how positively managing disruption from social enterprises. Most importantly, this activity also assists us to deliver our commitment to be a more sustainable business. The social enterprise sector is growing at a rapid rate, and with its new ways of working that we, like any business of whatever size, should learn from. Also, these businesses that are trading to deliver social and environmental outcomes prosper and grow themselves. They in turn can look to us to partner for their delivery parcel and logistics services. We're all doing this through our partnership with the Akina Foundation, which began in 2002. We started working with Akina following a review of our own community strategy and identified through engagement with our stakeholders a need to help our communities become more resilient. As an intrinsic part of our daily lives for New Zealanders, this is important for our social licence to operate with the goodwill of the community. New Zealand's communities are also where our people, customers and revenues come from. Our future is therefore completely intertwined with the communities of Aotearoa, New Zealand, and their long-term success. We believe very strongly that businesses can only be successful if the communities around them are also successful, sustainable and prosperous. We have much in common. We're also excited to be partnering with the Kina to fund the development of an online marketplace in New Zealand, where businesses will be able to buy from certified social enterprises. This initiative will help further grow the sector's ability to win commercial contracts through training and support to help them to respond to tenders. These are not isolated initiatives. They reflect an ongoing, growing commitment. We're also learning and taking advice from our existing procurement suppliers to seek their advice and draw on their knowledge. The question we want help answering is, what is it that you offer that can help New Zealand Post achieve our sustainability goals? As an example, Cushman and Wakefield, who help us manage facilities, now review their own supply chain, with the aim of encouraging our third-party networks to positively impact the communities in which we operate. What we will then aim to do is replicate this focus with more and more of our suppliers. And while we do this, we believe we have an important story to share with communities. Shortly, and after Parliament gets itself sorted, I guess, New Zealand Post will be releasing its 5th annual integrated report. It tells our continuing journey of growth, innovation, service, efficiency, and importantly for this forum, sustainability. Community investment is one of the focus areas of sustainability under our people pillar, planet and prosperity being the other two pillars. This brings into focus what matters and what we're delivering as we chart the progress of our transformation into a delivery and e-commerce logistics business. While we always remain committed to providing New Zealanders with mail services, New Zealand Post is also developing a role as a delivery partner in an increasingly digital world, seeing exponential growth in e-commerce. While doing this, we can support social enterprises with their business growth through our service offerings. And as people call for more of what they need to be connected with each other and do business, we must do it in a way that works for us and our communities according to the principles that we share. For us, this means our changing business needs in a way that fosters a flourishing social enterprise sector, because this is where we see much of the necessary innovation happening that will support the success of all New Zealanders and for us, New Zealand Post. It is a great feeling to be leading an organisation that sees such a positive future ahead for both itself and for New Zealand, and is prepared to act in supporting it now, because we've always been part of how Kiwi communities are held together, and this means being in step with what they see as important and reflecting their values and priorities. So that's enough from me, and thank you for listening. Now it's time to hear from our panel. So, first up, we have Colin Downie. How are you doing, Colin? And I have a question for you, Colin. How important is speaking the correct language when engaging with corporate businesses?
Can't do much of a language without a microphone, right? Language is extremely important, and there's lots of layers to language when you are trying to express your story of your social enterprise. Key wording, key messages is really important, and the ability to communicate in an eloquent manner is what underpins a lot of success when you're trying to sell your services. And I think one of the biggest tips, and I've got some slides that I'm going to take everybody through, is getting good at selling is one of the most powerful ways to help your social business develop. Selling's not a dirty word. It is a professional tool that takes years to build and get nuanced and get better at. And there is lots of ways to improve how you handle language and deal with language within the context of selling that can transform your success rate of your business. And ultimately, the more you sell, generally speaking, if you're trading, the more you sell, the more impact you drive. And it's a really simple correlation in my mind. So what gets me out of bed in the morning? Helping all the people that our social business supports. But the best way for me to do that is to sell more, to be successful with me and my teams to make more money. So the bigger our social enterprise is, the more impact we're going to create. And there's lots of things around language and messages that I can support with that. So I was asked as well to come and do some slides, and I'm going to stand up, I think, and I'm going to take you through how we do it at Wild Hearts. And this is not a showcase for what we are doing. The best way for me to illustrate is these slides have been developed over 10 years, and we are now the largest business-to-business social enterprise in the UK. We started with no customers. We didn't know what a social enterprise was, and we had no impact. And I'm going to show you some figures later. But the reason I say that is that every social enterprise can sell into a corporate or an SME business, particularly if you're trading. And I'll give you one statistic that always blows my mind, is in the UK, or maybe if anybody wants to shout it out, what do you think the average CSR budget is for a FTSE 100 company? So CSR budget, what is it? Any idea? As a number, a figure. So it's about, okay, we'll come to it, because I can't do the maths for the percentage, but it's low. It's £10 million. The average procurement budget for a FTSE 100 company is between £3 and £4 billion. So what kind of a world would we live in if all of those £3 to £4 billion times 100 times the FTSE 250, FTSE 350 was spending all that money with social enterprises? There wouldn't be much poverty left, I don't think, after that. So I think it's really key that social enterprises step up into this space, because for too long, I'll probably get into trouble for all this, but social enterprises have sat over here doing their thing, corporates have sat over here doing their thing, and they're not talking, and they're just sitting there going, oh, they're really bad, big bad corporates. It's not the truth. There's some amazing human beings in procurement doing some amazing stuff, and I'm going to share you, but you've got to get the language right, and hopefully you can get some hints and tips from some of the stuff that we do, and I'll maybe take you through some of that now. So one of our straplines, Wild Hearts Office, transforming, you really need to engage with the company that you're speaking to. So if I'm going into a new prospect, we put their logo on the very first slide, we put their name in this statement, and we want them to partner with us, we want them to come on a journey. So how can we as Wild Hearts transform your essential overheads and turn them into social investments? So all procurement is, it's an overhead. Businesses can't function without spending money. But if they spend money with social enterprises, well, suddenly they're making social investments from money that they've got and they have to spend. So I think you can steal any of this with pride, by the way. You can just have it all. But you've got to come up with your own messages, okay? So that one might work, and I know that one sets the tone for procurement people going, oh, I never thought about it like that. That's really interesting. I want to hear more. Don't use pity pictures, right? Don't put sad faces anywhere. If you want to differentiate this sector away from a lot of the charity work, and I'm not positioning myself bad-mouthing charities in any way, but social enterprises have so many amazing stories. When I saw Kilmarnock speak yesterday with SAP, the stories were so enlightening. The procurement people love all that, right? Procurement people have got families, they've got kids, they want to do more. They, generally speaking, live in reasonably sterile environments. Make things really inspiring for them. And all they've got to do is buy from you. It seems a trade-off. Get simple key messages on the go that people can just quite quickly understand how your business model works. You will have to go into more detail at a later date, but you're there for the first time connecting with a business. And that's one of our other strapline. Wild Hearts Office uses all of its profits for the Wild Hearts Foundation. That's easy. People get it. So I'm going to buy from that. Again, look, prospect name. Put people's names across. I love this line because, again, this gets procurement people thinking. How do you make a difference whilst you make a living? You buy from us. So we're deliberately targeting procurement spend, and I'll come on to that because it'll be different for some of your social enterprises. I appreciate that, but corporates love a graphic, right? They love a flow chart. So I can quickly show you spend from me, and we will deliver social impact in 3 distinct social output arms. Anyone can do that. Trust me, you guys can come up with your own messages. You don't have to tell them everything you do as a social enterprise. You might be there forever. But hone in on something that you think is quite relevant to them and get on with it. So we do social output in Microtyco, which is an enterprise education program for young kids that addresses social mobility. We've got a Love to Learn global literacy program, and microfinance. We invest in microfinance in 37 countries. It's all business related. We're a business targeting business procurement spend, and our social output is business related. So all of these things have, they resonate with procurement professionals. This one works. The more services you purchase from us, the greater impact NZ Post could have. Stroke some egos, make people feel really amazing. Start with one. We're best known for office supplies, but over the years we've diversified into all these things because we know our customers buy them. So keep going, what else can we buy from you? What else can we buy from you? And we've just started a box archiving and storage business. We've done a joint venture with a global business, and we've now got options to sell box archiving in 8 countries globally, which is amazing. But think of all those other things you can sell. And once you've got a customer, sell them more, sell them more, sell them more. And my tip is find consumable product. Because what's great about this stuff is they're going to use it all up and keep buying from us year on year. So the impact just keeps going up. And you can all come up with your own ways to do that, I think. This is the most crucial slide ever. And I'll get into a bit of trouble here about impact metrics and people saying it's so hard to come up with how we measure impact. I don't believe it. Yes, it's a complicated conversation, and you're going to have to work out some figures and get a good person in the business who can do this. But this is a fully auditable figure that is ratified by external auditors. But make the maths simple. So £5,000 spent with all those little hearts you saw before, whichever heart you choose, will help 20 lives in microfinance, 10 Love to Learn packs, and will help the ongoing education of, there's currently 35,000 kids have been through Microtyco since we started this business 10 years ago. Procurement people get this stuff, some numbers and flow graphs, super simple. So when I sit with a business and they say to me, I say, how much do you spend on office supplies? And they say, oh, well, we spend £250,000. 250 grand divided by 5,000 multiplied by 2010 and Microtyco is a pretty massive figure. So you start telling people, hey, you buy your office supplies from us, you're going to help 1,000 people. Procurement are like, what? And what do they do that night? They go home and they tell their kids. And they tell their wives, what happened to me today? Somebody came in and said, I can help all these lives. I don't have to go into my own pocket. This isn't a charitable donation. And they'll sit and reflect on that. I have lost count of the amount of procurement people where we have brought value into their life. So there shouldn't be a standoff. We should be loud and proud and selling stuff to businesses because they've got an unbelievable volume of business. Now, how many corporate and SME businesses are in the room right now, including the ones on the stage? It's a decent representation. The stuff is amazing for your business, by the way. And look at that stat in the bottom right. You'll have a 50% reduction in staff turnover by implementing corporate responsibility effectively. So I can see, David sitting here going, oh, that's interesting. This will actually be better for my business on the bottom line. Yeah, and I'm just one supplier in multiple suppliers that a business can have. But the next generation is talking about this. And if you want a really scary statistic, read this next slide. If you don't get this right from a business perspective, SME or corporate, in the age of transparency, social media, whistleblowers, you name it, this is how you engage your staff. And you were talking earlier, David, about how you couldn't believe the ripple effect this had engaging, It's just buying stuff from a social enterprise. But get it right, and you're on the home stretch. Get it wrong, and this is dangerous. And ignore this at your peril. This sector is fast growing, and if you saw the CEO of the Grameen Capital today talking about the size of some of the social enterprises in India that are already at IPO stage, this sector is going to be on the map more than it is before. And I want to share you a couple of slides from one of our most culturally aligned customers, Johnson & Johnson. And for businesses and SMEs, this is absolutely crucial, the stuff that they're doing. But it's strategic, and it's planned, and they have a target, and they have a roadmap. They haven't left it to chance, and they're working on it, and they review it. And from the top down, they are inculcated in this program. And it's great to hear you say before, David, about you've picked a number, you've gone for 3, and you're going to make 3 happen. 3 becomes 5, 5 becomes 10, 10 becomes 20, and before you know it, you've got a social supply chain. And that's amazing. But it must be planned. If you leave it to chance, it won't happen. And I can tell you of loads of social, big businesses in the UK who play around in this space, and they get quite a bit of PR from playing around with it, and they spend very, very little with actual social enterprises. So I don't talk about them publicly, and we talk about them behind their back, and we showcase the good ones, and because they're going to get found out, and it won't be pretty for them when they do. So put a roadmap in place and think about it, and get your team involved and get a plan. And close to summing up, this is how, if you don't think that corporates are all nasty and they all get labelled with the same brush, it's not my experience at all. This is a Johnson & Johnson slide, and that's what internally goes round their business. They mean it. They genuinely mean it. So yeah, stroke some more egos, use existing customer quotes, start putting company logos in your brochures and talk about them and celebrate them, because the minute somebody's logo is not on there, you've got an angle to start saying, well, why are you not buying from us? We are competitive. We've got a great supply chain. We've got great delivery. Why would you not buy from us? That's the best sales line ever. And that's how you start. Because if it's good enough for these guys, you better have a damn good reason. If your brother owns a stationery company, I tend to let that one go. And then if it's any other reason, it's more on them than it is on me these days, for sure. And in summing up, that's what we've done in 10 years. And we knew nothing about office supplies. We knew nothing about impact. So can't buy in to the idea that you can't sell to corporate business, big or small, yourselves. So this slide, in summing up, the last thing to say is our internal target is we want to help 1 million lives by 2020. So I'm immediately like, hey, New Zealand Post, do you want to help me with that? Oh, that's a good idea, right? And who's next? And who's next? Yeah, I want to help you. Sure, we'll help you get up there. All these messages are really important. Language is important. Pictures are important. And you can go on a journey with some really brilliant businesses to get to that big target. Okay.
Bob, well done.